We
Yeah,
live?
muted, and we are live.
Awesome.
So good evening, we are live, and Faith will open our collections 101 panel. Faith, it's up to you. We are live.
Hi, everyone. We're actually just going to wait a couple minutes until it hits 11, and then we'll get started. So feel free to chat in the chat and say hi. Look forward to starting soon.
Does that mean we can chat then? So hi, everyone.
Hello. Yeah, that's exactly what it means. Please chat.
So I'm in the UK. We can chat then. Where are you, Nina? So hi, everyone.
Hello.
I'm in Bulgaria.
Please chat.
So,
And Shane?
I'm in Kenya. I'm joining you from Kenya.
the only warm place at the moment. Oh, I don't know. Is it warm in California? I don't know.
Well, I wouldn't say it's warm, but relative to other places I've lived, it's pretty nice. It's sunny.
Not as hot as Singapore, though.
No, not quite.
It's we have snow and it's -3, I think, or -5.
Yeah. Every time the temperature dips here in the UK, we either have clear skies or rain. So it's very difficult to get snow in the southern part of the UK. So it's been very, very clear. And it's cold. I'm in my conservatory and it's cold out there. And I've got a heater next to me and a drink to fortify myself with.
I have some tea, and yeah, the heating is on.
And
So
Shane's got orange juice.
Absolutely.
So when's your next trip, Shane? When are you going traveling again?
New Year, I suspect, is looking very much like the new year.
Okay.
So probably UK, Dubai again. I always seem to pass through Dubai because that's where most of the work is. So yes, through those two destinations.
What's Christmas like in Kenya? Pardon my ignorance, but do they do Christmas in Kenya?
Oh yes, Christmas is a very big event, but it's consider it Christmas without the commercialization. So in a lot of Western countries, you'll see, for example, a lot of focus on gift giving and the shopping malls and the TV advertising, and you don't really see that in Kenya. I was here for Christmas last year, and normally the Christmas here, the big event is the family will get together, and the feast and the food is the main event. So usually you slaughter a goat or something similar. Or chapatis is a very popular meal for Christmas Day, and that's the focus is very much on the family and the sharing of food more than giving of gifts.
Okay.
I would say that for Tyrol, I'm going to visit my daughter, so it's they put away everything from the markets, and they are with the families, and I'm very happy because it's also the Bulgarian old traditional way to celebrate, stay at home and spend time with each other. And really good time.
All right, it's 11 a.m. So we'll go ahead and get started. Hello, everyone. We're really excited to have you here for our Collections 101 event brought to you by the Google+Collections community. My name is Faith. I'm part of the Google+Collections team here in Mountain View, California, and I work as a moderator for the Collections community. We're really excited. I think our panelists have some really wonderful things in store for all of you. And I hope you learn a lot about collections in Google+ today. So without further ado, we'll get started. A brief rundown of today's events. So I'll be introducing our panelists and a little bit about the collections community. And then our panelists will speak, Shane, Nina, followed by Azlin. And after each panelist, we'll have a short time for questions and answers, and then we'll have more time for Q&A at the end. So our collections community, it's a place for you to find inspiration, and you can share your collections and get feedback on them on Google+. So it's a community that you can join, and we'll be sharing the link to it if you aren't already part of the community. But we really hope you check it out. All of our panelists today are part of the collections community, and so you can get the feedback and tips that they're sharing with you through our event from the community as well every day. So we hope you check it out. With our panelists, we're really excited to introduce these three panelists, starting with Shane, who is an avid adventurer. He calls himself a bit of a nomad, and he's traveled to over 100 countries. On Google+, his presence really surrounds photography. He's really experienced in social media, gives a lot of speeches around Google+ and travel photography and related blogging. And so he's just a really experienced member on Google+, and we're really excited to have him share some of his tips and inspiration about taking the road less traveled. Our second panelist today is Nina Trankova. She comes from Sofia, Bulgaria. In her personal time, she's a consultant working on digital transformations for brands online, and she's really active on Google+. If you've visited her channel, you'll see she's got some wonderful videos about Google+ and collaborated content from many of our star users. So definitely check out her content after our event. And our final panelist is Azlin Bloor. Her content often makes me really hungry and wishing that I was in her kitchen instead of at my desk. But Azlin is a chef and cookery teacher. She's also from the same country that I'm from, Singapore, and she now lives in the UK. She's got many, many wonderful collections about food and collections about homeschooling her children. She's just a wonderful creator on our platform, and it's always a joy to see her collections and posts. So we're really excited to bring to you some great content from them today, and we'll get started with Shane.
Creating compelling collections is really what I love doing on Google+. There's a few questions you need to ask yourself when you're creating a collection. First of all, what value do you bring? What makes you different, and what is your purpose? Now, to give you an example of this in practice, when this event was promoted on the collections community and my attendance was announced, the collection that was focused on was the faces of Afghanistan. And it showed a lot of portraits of my visit to Afghanistan 3 years ago. And to answer the three questions in relation to that collection, what value do I bring? The value I bring is I show people of Afghanistan. I show their incredible faces and the great detail and the great hospitality I received. And it comes through in a lot of the images. Secondly, what makes it different? What makes you different? And with the Afghanistan collection, well, how many collections about Afghanistan have you seen? Probably either one or none. And so it ticks that one. And the third one, what is your purpose? And when I talk about purpose, some people think, oh, my purpose in creating a collection is to get it featured. No, that is not your purpose. Your purpose needs to be a bit bigger than that. Well, this is coming from my perspective. So my purpose in putting this collection together was to show a side of Afghanistan that the media does not show. The impression of Afghanistan via the general media is negative. It's war, it's bloodshed, it's anger, it's violence. That was the opposite of what I found. And so I wanted to show what I saw in my Afghanistan when I visited as a tourist. And then once you have those key questions, you build it through strong content, strong conversation, and strong community. Now, I know for the last two, Nina and Azlin will look at that a little bit more, but I'm mostly going to focus on the strong content. Now, if we go to the next slide, you will see that there is I talk about collections basics, how you start a collection. Now, first of all, it seems the most obvious one, but choose the right collection color. Now, if you look to the right, you'll see that there's four of my collections. All of these have been featured. The Sana'a, which is the capital of Yemen. Notice there's a lot of browns in the photo, so I chose a brown, the cover color. The Wonders of Indonesia, again, the statue on the left is a dark color, so I chose gray. Wildlife of Kenya, that's the Great Migration and the Masai Mara. Again, I chose the beige color of the grass, so I chose a similar color there. Now, the history of Romania is a bit different because the dominant color on that image is blue, but the thing that I remember most of Romania is green, is the forest. Transylvania especially means the land beyond the forest. But I didn't really want to choose green and I couldn't choose blue, so I chose aqua, which happens to be quite close to the color of the tower on the near side of the photo. So therefore, all of the colors seem to match the images. Now, once you've done that, you pick 12 high quality images. Now, you don't put them all on straight away. And I say high quality. In what I do, with travel and photography, quality of images is paramount. For other sort of genres you want to promote, it is not as important, but still there are basic things you need to do. Make sure your photos in focus. Make sure it's got a correct lighting. You can see things. You're not cropping off people and heads and all this sort of thing. Be aware when you're putting your images forward that they have to be at least an average quality, but I would say for travel, a very good quality. Now, next is keep your theme narrow. This is really important. My first ever collection featured was Ethiopia. Now, my favorite country in Africa, I've been there 6 times, but my error probably was that I made it too broad. Ethiopia is such a diverse country that I should have split it into 2. For example, the historical sites and then maybe the tribes and then the landscapes. So keep your theme narrow. Be different is really important. Have a look at these collections: Romania, Kenya, Yemen and Indonesia. Again, not very common collections. If you go through my collections, you'll see Afghanistan, you'll see Astana in Kazakhstan, you'll see North Korea. I tend to focus on collections that are very different from different destinations. Add descriptions that have mood. This is very important, and perhaps I don't do it enough. So what we mean by this is maybe use the senses when you're describing what you see, what you smell, what you hear, what you taste, what you feel in a scene, in a description, in a short description or whatever length you wish. And that gives it a bit of color. People relate to the senses when they read. Don't include too many hashtags. This is not Instagram. So Instagram, yes, you can do up to 30 hashtags, but I know that when people have put a lot of hashtags on collections, that the feedback generally from people in Google+ has been it's viewed as spam. So I try to target 4 or 5 at the most. Most of mine are 3 and 4. And finally, on this page, keep external links to a minimum. Many people ask me, but how do we use Google+ to drive traffic to our website? And I would say it's a different audience. A social media audience is very different to an audience that will go to a website or a blog. So I don't post any external links with very few exceptions. So probably 98% of my content is self-contained. And you should think of the same too. Focus mostly on having a photo and uploading it independently and keep it within Google+. If there's some external information you want to share, sure, put a link in there. But the photo, in my opinion, shouldn't always go to the link. That's just to do with travel photography. Different genres may have different rules. Now, if we go to the next slide, I will show you someone who attended my session. This is Barbara, attended my session on Google+ in Stockholm. Now, remember to be different. Barbara did this so extremely well. So Barbara's there, looks around Stockholm, and what can I do that's different? And so what did she do? She photographed the metro system. Look at these tremendous metro stations. Isn't it incredible? So she got these metro stations and put it up. And what's really interesting about this is that we were talking together offline, and we were trying to work out, okay, let's get the collection together and then we'll get it ready to put in the collections. But the thing was, before we got to that stage, it was discovered, which just shows you that on Google+, unlike a lot of other platforms, if you have strong content for long enough, you will be noticed. You don't have to pay to be noticed, you just have to be out there. And this is where conversations come in. Conversations is if someone leaves a comment, respond to the comment. and then you go to other collections you like, especially on that collections page, and create conversations with people. When you create conversations, you don't have to say, oh, come and have a look at my collections. No, just the fact you're engaging with people, and in a conversation you're promoting yourself, and that's what Barbara did in this case, and she was featured. And this is just an absolutely beautiful collection. In fact, Barbara has a lot of beautiful collections, but this one I particularly like. So let's have a look at the next slide on how you build a collection. Oh, while we're on the different one, let's have a look at this. The Afghanistan one was in the bottom left. Just notice the red I matched with the red. Myanmar, bottom right. The blue with the blue. But the top two, Toronto. Both are on Toronto. Now, interesting, the left collection, the Sights of Toronto, has the better photos than the right collection on the street art. Yet it was street art that was featured. Just like Barbara did in Stockholm, she didn't go for street scenes or the islands or the waterways or the historic buildings. She went for the subway. Street art was featured. Sights of Toronto has never been featured. It's something different. Now, when you build collections, start with 4 to 6 images. I tend to add one when I'm building a collection, one every 2 to 3 days until I get to that 12 number. Mix your strongest and strong images. Notice I never say weak images because you should never put a weak image when you try to build a strong collection. And then keep some of your strongest collections for later, because if you are featured, and of course there's no guarantee if you follow this that you will be featured, but if you are featured, then start putting in your strongest collections. My most recent collection to be featured was Iran. Iran was my 100th country. And some of my best photos I kept, and I was hoping would be featured. And when it was featured, out came some of these strongest images, which I knew would be very hard to find anywhere else. And that has now proved to be a very popular collection. And did I say to be different? Yep. Remember to be different. Remember Barbara's collection. Remember some of these countries are focusing. Remember the street art of Toronto. But let's go a little bit of detail here about showing two people. This is Monica, who attended my session in Stockholm. Monica's collections are truly wonderful, absolutely wonderful. She has mastered the art of collections so very quickly. And the title of this is Find Your Voice and Not Your Niche. It's important in the travel sphere. People say, well, I'm an adventure traveler. I do luxury. I do family travel. I do city stays. That's not enough. You need to tell a story on collections that only you can tell. No one else can tell it. Now, what Monica does, and she does it so well, is she tells a story about her part of the world. Now, I know Azlin will mention this later. She tells a story about where she lives on the Austrian-German border. Notice she talks about doors and windows of the world in her area, talks about Austria, talks about regional food, talks about Germany. She shows you that even though where you live and you look around where you live, it may not seem as exciting for you, but someone on the other side of the world, you live in a truly exotic and wonderful place. So remember to see the beauty around you. And what Monica does so extremely well is shows the beauty of her part of the world to the rest of the world. So that's her voice. Her voice is showing the beauty of her home. Let's have a look at the next slide, and let's look at someone who does something quite different. Ajay attended my Google+ session in Manila in the Philippines. And his is what I call the grander style of travel, very large, very broad. Just have a look at that photo on the left. That is Red Square in Moscow, and that absolutely extraordinary image. What RJ does very well, he doesn't do very well, he does them brilliantly, architectural photography. So his collection, Our Planet's Landmarks, have a look at it, have a look at how he uses his niche, which is a very strong architectural photography with that very broad style of travel. And again, this is different from what Monica does. It doesn't make it worse or better, it's just different. It's his voice. RJ has his voice on Google+, and this is how he does it. And in summary now, we'll go to the last slide now. In summary, remember the value you bring, what makes you different, and what is your purpose. And remember that you need strong content, conversation, and community. And I'm hoping that after this whole session, and after you've heard from Azlin and Nina, that you will wake up tomorrow and you will start looking through all your photos, come up and start creating compelling collections. Thank you.
I clapped. Wonderful. Thanks so much, Shane. We'd love to open it up to a short time for a question and answer right now. If anyone has any questions they want to write in the chat. I do, in the meantime, while we wait, I have someone asked a question ahead of time in one of our posts. But Shane, some people were wondering, how do they manage comments on their collections, especially, when they get a lot of followers? How do you go about managing comments? Yeah,
comments, there's no easy way to get around managing comments. There is just no easy way at all. You have to, my opinion is you need to respond to them all, unless it's obvious spam or just gibberish. And if it's gibberish, someone putting FGH, 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 I tend to delete such comments. But even just thanking you, thank you, such an important term to use. If someone asks you a question, respond. I noticed that when I was posting a lot across a lot of collections at a time, it just became too much work to keep up with that number of comments. We were getting 5 million views a week, and it was just too much. So what we did is just to reduce the number of comments, we just reduced the number of times we posted, and now we get 1.5 million, 2 million a week, and we have for most of the year, and that's a lot more manageable. But basically, there is no quick, tricky, sneaky way to get around comments. You need to respond to them all. Try to be positive all the time. Don't get into fights. It's just not worth it. Social media is very aspirational, very positive, and you need to keep that term throughout. So do the respectful thing. And if there's a lot of comments, then even if you don't have a lot of time, put all the names, maybe these 5 people above you, put them all on and say, hey, thank you all for your comments. And then that is if you're really pressed for time. But try to answer them all.
Mm-hmm. Nina, Azlin, do you want to chime in a little? Maybe Azlin, I think you've given some advice regarding this issue too.
Yeah, I think what Shane said, try and respond to every single comment. I'm actually touching on this in the presentation later about comments. And if you don't have the time to approach every single person, do a collective acknowledgement. But what I always do, occasionally, it does happen even to the best of us. I say, I apologize for the collective acknowledgement, but it's been a bit of a busy day. Thank you all. I truly appreciate the time you've taken. Something like that.
Yeah. I wish also to add that it depends a lot upon the personal behavior. My presentation is all about personal conversation. And what I do is when I see that it's too much spam, I always answer each of the comments. I do a comment that shows that it's my presence is focused very much on what I do and use it for professional occupations on Google+. Then people stop spamming. I have noticed that. And another trick I use, I do post less, like Shane said, and I also add some technical posts. Like there's always features and technical stuff to share that is useful, and then the spam comments go away.
Awesome. Thanks so much for sharing, guys. We'll be moving on now to our next panelist, actually, Nina, and she's going to share her take on high-quality collections and how she approaches that on Google+.
Thank you for this opportunity. I'm very grateful that Google has this tool for conversation, that I use it to start conversation, keep it going, and have the open conversation. That's what I'm passionate about. Having a conversation open in a neutral space, and having the ability to communicate in a digital way is very important to every occupation. I don't believe there is a great expert in any field that shouldn't be able to communicate digitally and personally online, since the new generations, they have their skills like naturally, and it's our responsibility to bridge generations, bring together the gap between users, providers, and find this touch point in our conversation that are meaningful and can help our daily activities. So content creation is merging your daily experience in a very personal a personalized way on Google Collections. What I prove with my profile is that I use them for my personal and professional growth. So the fact that I'm here is just amazing. And I'm very proud of this. So thank you again, everybody. And this open conversation changes the environment. It changes everything a professional does for their daily occupations in any profession. Going to the other slide, the way a valuable quality content can touch and start a conversation, because it's another way I call collections a conversation starter, is humanize the content. In all my slides, I give just verbs. Humanize, always be active, involved. When you humanize the content, before hitting the publish button, you see small icons that are images, photos, video, links. You can ask questions and you can use locations. This diversity, I urge you to include all these opportunities to have a variety of content into your collections. What I did, for example, with this small basket is I planted these vegetables by myself, and I didn't, I took part into campaign on Google+, but it's actually an excitement we had with my friends, having this basket together. It's putting emotion, putting senses, like it's repeated, but it's true that even in the digital part of the screen, as also Shane, it's repeated, I said, but it's really true. The senses are that you touch, you breathe the content literally. So you have to make it with emotion and action. And the second example is the honey we have here in our neighborhood. You see the children, they do some work there. And my message is that the really valuable things, stuff one finds on the location. So on the next slide, I talk about involvement. That's how I work. If you go to my profile, you can see very much what I do, how I do it, what are my spheres of interest. It's very transparent. I involve myself and I walk the audience further. So I show insights of what I do. These steps that I show are very slowly and in detail. The details I show, I explain how they are important. So here on the example, you see Easy Guide for Collections. It's about sharing a video from YouTube, which gives you a small screen if you share on Facebook, and a nice vision if you share from collections. This result is affecting in multiple ways. So when you involve yourself into your collection and you involve your audience, then it's giving greater vision in the future. I have used this quote from the biggest hero living in our time, Reinhold Messner, because what you see is just a simple thing, but behind it, it's deep information, a lot of knowledge, a lot of skills involved. So it's always further than it looks, it's always taller than it looks, and it's always harder than it looks. And each of us can have their own guide about things we are passionate about our sports, whatever we like. I know Azlin is touching on that, so just saying that a guide can do anyone without being especially a photographer. You can do a guide for your skills, for your hobby, for what you love doing. So expand in a greater vision, promote yourself. On my next slide, I'm again talking with involvement, because by personal involvement is the way you move your collections. It's not being featured you're not creating for being featured. In my involvement by demonstrating, I create spaces for thinking and conversation. I've been meeting and interviewing users on Google+. Now I have 16 different occupations from, I think, 9 countries. This is unbelievable experience. I hear how Google+ changed the life of some people, changed their daily routine, the way they approach their professional occupations and activities. I have the quote of a person that we love a lot on Google+, David Tamerlan. He says, Google+ helps me be honest. And Theodora Petkova says Google+ she finds really a awesome content that just not give her ideas about her writing, but about her thinking. So creating a space that the audience observes and bringing treasures, evidences, and letting the people have their own choice is enough. It's not necessary to have, like in real life, we do a lot of wording, a lot of like battles in our conversations. Here on Google+, we can just bring all the resources and evidences and treasures from the users, from their knowledge and their experience. This is an involving myself and involving the audience in a variety and free choice. What I most value is, again, the neutrality and the free choice. And going to my next slide. Is then evolve further and improve. When you are good enough, because digital communication with collections is a personal skill, and you get the feeling how it goes with your collection, then you can involve with a team and have a collaborative collection. This is extremely emotional experience. We have a team that is passionate about evidencing that our country can be a good place to live. So we even don't meet, but we have our creating and curating some news that can prove that Bulgaria is a good place to live. We work for a greater vision, so collaborative experience is very beneficial way to expand on a cause, on reaching greater projects. We have also on Google Create community big examples about this. You can check some of the posts in Google Collections community and you will see great examples of collaborative collections. On my next slide is the focus of expertise. This is the most important barrier of having valuable content in collections. Because you can always focus more and explore and research more about what your expertise is. Do your best and make it a vivid, ongoing story. I Draw Passion is also part of Google Create program. Did 10 days drawing one illustration per day, and for that time, from 1,000 followers, the collection grew to 13,000, which was an exceptional example. Only one post reached 27,000 views. And also we noticed that when posting publicly reaches 10 views versus in favor of collections, you reach 1,000. So having this passion, I was thinking about my passion of being good like in my childhood. I will do 100% to prove it every day and ongoing and non-stopping in detail and aspect for this expertise that is shown on this story of hydro fashion. And my last and most important slide is about professional leadership. You see here the first example is Svetlana Stavreva from IBM in Southeast Europe. She is the Chief Communication Officer. She is rounding up a conference, the first ever conference online on YouTube. And the second example is from University Professor Zoltan Buzadi, also a CREATE member. I met them in Budapest on a business event. So what they do is they innovate by engaging themselves professionally, and they bridge traditional approaches in their profession. Like, for example, Svetlana, she bridges traditional media coverage of the industry talk we have for Southeast Europe, technology implementation in healthcare, and that is disrupting the communication environment and making her able to talk in an open way for the innovative technology the brand brings. Also for Zoltan Buzadi, he's engaging his university classes with his collection on Google+. He's commenting human resources, all the transformation of the occupations in that field. And it's an extremely important change of environment for his students, bringing science and practice together. I will finish my presentation with David Amelin. He calls collections ontologies in the making. We actually, all we know on Google Plus, for myself, is mostly by reading his books. I encourage you to follow and read David Amelin's explanations and analysis about how the web works. Even if we don't understand everything, we just able to see the touch points for the transformation of all the professional daily communication in different niches. And thank you very much. I'll be happy to answer some questions too.
Thanks. Thanks, Nina. Yeah, we'd love to take any questions if anyone wants to pop anything up in the chats. We do have a question again from earlier, but someone did ask Nina where they can get help with making collections. I know you're kind of involved on Google Plus and not just the collections community and CREATE, but what are some resources you would suggest to them?
When you are on your collection, you have the 3 dots up on the left, and there is a help. I suggest that I personally open help very often. Once that I am on Google Plus help community and I have the habit to read again. Also for all my profiles, I also read again the help instructions. It's good reminders. It's always something new you forget because we, like people, we get involved with our habits and we tend to forget some small things that are important. So I also encourage you, when you start your post, once a month or even once 2 weeks, check the help. There are a lot of useful articles on collections.
Awesome. Thanks, Nina. Definitely feel free to post in the chat if you have more questions so that we can line some up for the end. But I'd like to introduce our final panelist, Azlin. She's going to be talking about having fun with collections.
Hi, thanks, Faith. Right, so you've heard from Shane and Nina. I'm going to share with you my perspective, my approach, my take on collections, and it may differ somewhat from theirs because I don't have a gazillion photos from exotic, faraway places like Shane does. And despite being a blogger, I know I'm hopeless at all things SEO and marketing, unlike Nina. So stick with me and I'll talk you through Collections 101, the ordinary way. Rule number 1 for collections at Azlin: just learn to have fun. So having fun with collections and how to drive traffic to your profile on G+ and to your site if you have a website. Having fun with collections and how to increase engagement and your following on G+. We're going to talk about how to start a new collection, how to create quality collections, and how to maintain and ensure the success of your collections. So let's look at starting a new collection. How do you create a collection and have fun? Whether it's your first or your 31st. What happens? How do you start? Where do you go for inspiration? If you're not a photographer, if you're not a blogger, you don't use social media professionally, or you've just simply run out of ideas, what do you do? Where do you draw the inspiration? Let's look at the next slide. Look around you for the ordinary, everyday opportunities. Life is a Kodak moment. Every opportunity is just waiting to be grabbed at and to be made use of. Breakfast, lunch, journey to work, school, movies you watch, music you listen to on a daily basis. Think of an idea or a theme. Next time you take the train, you take the bus, you're in your car on your way to work. Look out the window. Anything out there that inspires you? So think of an idea or theme, then come up with a title. And then, if applicable, use a tagline to describe your collection. Not all collections need a tagline. My Southeast Asian cooking is self-explanatory. I don't have a tagline for it. So with that in mind, think of an idea, and then you think of a title, and you think of the tagline, and you get collecting. Do you eat out regularly? Do you have lunch perhaps every day out when you're at work? Take a picture of the meals you have out at restaurant. I've got a friend, Leroy, on G+. Almost every day he's out at some restaurant in Birmingham. One day it's Korean, one day it's Italian, one day it's Indian, So take a picture of your food. Start a collection, call it the supper club, lunching with friends, or whatever strikes your fancy. And, upload that picture of your food. Put a title in bold. That could be the name of the dish that you're actually having. Place the name, put the name of the restaurant you're at, and on the new Google+, you can geographically tag your photo. Place it on Google Map so everybody knows where that restaurant is. And tell us a little bit about your food. It doesn't have to be any long essay. Just tell us, was it good? Was it spicy? Was it hot? Was it Italian? Was it rubbish? Just start a collection that way. Whatever is everyday business for you, because what's everyday business for you, as Shane said earlier, is an everyday business for the next person. So not into food? Don't worry. Start a collection on your favorite movies. Do you watch The Flash, Legends of Tomorrow, Arrow? Start a collection on that. Tell us what you think about it. Don't watch TV? Oh, well, start a collection on sunsets, sunrise, and if all fails, cats and dogs are always popular. So, there is so much out there for you guys to grab and make a collection. Be unique, Shane said. Sure, unique is good, but if unique is not your thing, look around you. What's regular to you, what's ordinary to you is unique to somebody else. But remember, whatever you do, see that last line there? make sure your theme has long-term potential. That bachelor party you went to last weekend, that's a collection going nowhere. So long-term potential is key to a successful collection. So moving on to the next slide. If you look at the ordinary, start with the easy stuff. I've got two examples, two of my favorite collections here. On the left, Rick. He's not a blogger, but he loves baking bread and he loves making healthy lunches for himself every day. And that's what that collection is full of. The food he makes for himself on a fairly daily basis. Collection on the right, Zvonimir, a Croatian who now lives in Canada with his wife, Jasmina. Zvonimir is actually a photographer. So he's got a lot of content, but this particular collection of his is one of my favorites. It's things that make me, me. And you see a bowl of popcorn and his laptop and he's watching a launch. The collection is full of the sort of things he does every day, a trip to the market, a trip to the shops, you know, and it's his new life in Canada and some of it is his life in Croatia. All that is unique to me. It's exotic and fun for me. So again, start with the easy stuff if you're looking for inspiration. So let's go on to the next slide because we have now created our collection. We've thought about a theme by looking at the ordinary. So let's talk about quality, images and words. But let's start with words. Let's face it, collections are image driven. I saw a question just now in the comments, something about why the photo collections are more popular than the link collections and stuff. Collections are image driven. So, you know, your picture has got to be pretty good, but we're not all professional photographers. But that's okay. If you take your photos with your phones, there are lots of photo editing apps out there. Mobile photo editing apps like Snapseed. Play around with your picture. Give it an artistic gloss, if you like, you know, until you're happy with your image. Words. A picture, they say, speaks 1,000 words. Imagine how much more your picture is going to be saying if you, the photographer, add your own emotions and thoughts to your image. How much more will it be talking to your audience? Your words are going to add a whole new dimension to your image. So to me, words are just as important as the images. Don't know what to say? Go back to basics. Who, what, when, where, why. Let's take a look at these two images you see on the slides. The mine from my collection called Dorset in Hampshire, which is the area I live in. So the first one on the left is just a scene from the beach. Ordinary day, you know. I took my kids out to the beach in the summer. It was a hot day. I took a picture of the beach. I came back. Well, I didn't really have much to say, so I gave it a title in bold and one more line, explanatory line. That's it. Picture on the right, New Forest ponies. The New Forest is an area of historical importance to us here. So I did a bit of reading and I added a couple of paragraphs of description and information to that post. So sometimes you have a lot to say, sometimes you don't have a lot to say, but at the very least, give it a short who and where to satisfy your audience. So that's your quality. That's one of the ways to create quality collections, quality posts in collections. Still with the topic of quality, if you are a blogger, if you have a website, my approach, my best practice for sharing pictures or links from blogs. So one of those, that person who asked this question just now about link posts, to me, what's more effective is uploading a picture from my blog on Google+ in my collections. Then I add a clear, bold title. And then I give a short description. And then I provide a very obvious link to my blog post so people can find it. It's at the end always, but it's very obvious because it's in bold. Here is the recipe in bold. So look at these two pictures here. On the left, pesto halloumi was a link straight from my blog. Affogato, the coffee on the ice cream, was an image uploaded in my collection. Pesto halloumi had about 74 pluses, which is, you know, all right. The affogato almost 200 pluses in a much shorter period of time. And in that same much short period of time, they had about the same visits from the posts from G+ to my website. So in my experience, you want engagement, you want lots of people talking about your work, and image uploaded on G+ is more effective than sharing a link from your blog. So we've talked about starting a collection, we've talked about quality. Let's go on sticking with the quality. Next slide, if we can, Faith. No, we're not sticking to quality, we're moving on. So we've started a collection, we've talked about quality. Let's move on and talk about how do you maintain and ensure the success of your collections. Now, to me, this is where the real challenge is. All right, started your collection, all right, got good pictures, good words. How do you maintain it? How do you make sure people come and visit you and talk to you? First rule, don't spread yourself too thin. Logic dictates that the more collections you have, the harder it's going to be to fill it with content. Don't tell anyone, but I'm a classic example of that. I have over 30 collections, and for some of them, I struggle with the content. So make sure you can control your content by having a limited number of collections. Post often, as Shane mentioned earlier, when your collection is new, post 2 to 3 times a week, I think he said, to get to a certain number, 10, 12. And once you hit that, as far as I'm concerned, ease off. Once a week is good enough. But you know, that does depend on the availability of your content. I have a sports collection. I love football, the real football, soccer. I love tennis. I love so much sports, but I don't post often enough. I only pick the main events and something that strikes me. So I post in that one perhaps once a month, or if Wimbledon comes around, I might post in it a few times a week. So it does really depend on the availability of your content and the type of collection it is. Repost old posts. Now that's actually quite important. Breathe new life into old posts by reposting them after 6 to 9 to 12 months. Faith, if we can just go back to the slide before, very quickly. So look at that picture on the right where that coffee is being poured onto the ice cream. That's affogato. That is Italian, an Italian dessert. This collection of mine is Mad on the Med, as in Mediterranean. So it's Mediterranean recipes. So this is Italian. It's in the Med collection. 6 to 9 months from now, I'll be reposting it into my desserts collection. So that's how you also post a single post in multiple collections. So let's move back on, Faith, to the next slide. Engage, reciprocate, reshare, and collaborate. I believe Nina touched on collaboration. I'm just going to jump down to collaboration. If you can find something to do with friends of yours on G+, your friends might have some followers you don't have. If you do something with them, that opens you up to new followers. In the summer, we had a project on Foodies Plus. Foodies Plus is a food community I run on G+. We had a summer drinks event, and I started a collection on summer drinks. And I basically reshared everybody's post into that collection, and it was a very popular collection. And now that the Antipodeans are having their summer, I might start reposting in there as well. That's Australians and New Zealanders in regular speak. So collaboration is a great way of getting new fresh blood for your collections. Okay, let's go back to engagement and reciprocation. Engagement is very important. Shane was talking about replying to comments and stuff. I make an effort to respond to every single comment left on my post, no matter how mundane, even by what we call blue heads. So if someone makes a comment on your post, don't just put up 1+. Someone says hello and makes a compliment, gives you a compliment on the street. Do you just nod and walk away? Because that's what a 1+ is, you know, it's a nod. A 1+ is not enough. Say thank you, start a conversation, because that's what keeps them coming back for more. And let's moving on swiftly to the next slide. Resharing. What goes around comes around. 2 of my favorite collections also. One on the right is by Lisa. Her collection is called Recipes to Try Soon, and it features she reshares posts by other food bloggers. And the one on the bottom is Yasmina's collection, full of reshares of beautiful images by photographers. You reshare work of others, they will reshare your work, opening you up to a whole new audience once again. So that is, to me, the foundation of good social media practice. So remember, look at the ordinary for inspiration. See that picture of me doing that yoga pose? We were just out for a walk in the woods. I took that opportunity to take a picture and post about it. Words strengthen an image. Engage, reshare, collaborate. But most of all, while you're doing that, just have fun. Thank you, folks.
Thank you so much, Azlin, Nina, Shane, for sharing all of your insights. It's really wonderful to hear from experts, really, how to go about creating great content on Google+ and managing collections. So we'd like to open the time up to questions. If you want to post in the chat. I do have a couple of questions for you guys, not to put you too much on the spotlight, but I know you all have very different approaches to how you go about making collections and your content on Google+. One of the questions that often comes up is, how many collections should someone make? So should I have, 2 collections and just focus on that? Can I make like 20 collections? Would love to hear from you guys.
I think there is a max limit, isn't there? 50 collections. I think, as I mentioned earlier, how many collections you have does depend on content availability for one thing, but also what you can manage. The more collections you have, the more difficult it's going to be to manage those collections and to share collections. I mean, if you post once a week, that's 7 postings a week. That's 7 collections. So if you have 14 collections, how do you manage that? Do you have to post 2 times a week? If you have 21 collections, do you have to manage 3 times a week? Then what about those reshares I just talked about? So, you've got to think about all that. Manageability is very, very important.
If I can add, I have 14 collections. 7 of them are featured. So I keep some of my personal collections, like inspirational garden that I have for myself, and I can skip sometime when I travel, but 7 collections are manageable. When I do consulting with newcomers, new people joining Google+, I always encourage them to start with 1, because it takes time, at least 1 month. As far as I observe, my experience shows it's not an immediate process. It takes some time to have 1 personal collections for their passion and 1 for their occupation, like curated. Acknowledging others' work by resharing is top of what's important on Google+. What I skipped to miss, and thank you, Azlin, for emphasizing this. I do a lot of resharing and curating, because it's the understanding of how we are connected from what I pointed out, the small pot in the garden, to the bigger vision of our Earth, for example. Thank you.
Yeah, I have 20 collections, 20 or 21, and over half are featured. The issue I have with the collections, because the destination focus, once I run out of photos, I need to return to the destination, which sometimes is not possible. So that's where something like, as was mentioned before by Azlin, resharing old posts, reposting is probably a very good idea. But again, the more collections you have, the harder it is to maintain. But you might have to acknowledge that some of your collections will reach an end by a date. It may be a very long date, but it will reach an end at some stage, and then it's time to repost or reshare, I suspect.
Great answers. I think another question that has come up is, what exactly is the definition of quality content or a quality collection? And that's actually, I think, a question that I can help answer. So with Google+, we have really strong policies because a lot of our content comes from content creators like photographers and bloggers. So we oftentimes want to make sure that we don't infringe any copyrights. We give appropriate credit when sharing photos. Shane, Nina, Azlin, all of you, create your own content to some extent on Google+. So maybe you can echo what you see as quality content on the site.
I'll start on that one. Being a photographer, it's a photograph that to me, well, for travel, I can really only speak for travel, but makes me want to walk into that picture. So it needs, that's a whole discussion for another time. Basic photography, the rule of thirds. For me, photography is control, composition, and connection. Just very quickly, control is control of light. How you control light? If you can control light, you can create a good photo. Composition, even taking one step left and right, makes a big difference, especially with a wide angle. And connection is probably the most important. When I first go to a destination, to get the best photos, I don't take photos on the first day. I go around and see how the place makes me feel, and then I try to capture that in the photos on the second and subsequent days. But that whole discussion on what makes a good photo, that's another hour at least.
We actually did have another question. Is there a limit for the number of posts you can make in a collection?
No, I don't think there is any. As far as I know, I've not read any help instructions from Google on that. So we just keep posting, and that's my definition about quality content. If I see it like involving and inspiring ongoing story about a very precise knowledge that is meaningful, like for the person altogether with, as I said in my post today, I noticed that Shane has 101 countries. His 101st country is next year, and Azlin has 100 recipes in her book released for Christmas. So my task is to have one person plus one digital person, 1+1. That's my aim, to make a quality content out of this personal experience, because when we're clear who we are and what we do, that comes together with a very transparent way and open conversation. For me, this is a quality ongoing story. It's not just making it once and leaving some fragmented thoughts and activities.
So,
Can I just touch on that as well?
Mhm.
How many posts can you make in a collection? Okay, so there's no limit on that. But there is something I've noticed a lot of posters do, is that there are some people who post, perhaps it's because you only get the chance to go online once a day. And when you do get that opportunity, you release 6 posts, worse still, 10 posts in a row. There's got to be a better way. If you post half a dozen posts within the space of 5 minutes, and I see them, if I see them in my stream, okay, I'm happy to engage with the first post, but by the time it comes to your third and your fourth and your fifth, I'm doing a big yawn and I'm moving on, So if you're wondering why you're not getting that engagement, whether in terms of pluses or comments, it's because you are posting too many times in too short a space of time. Spread your postings out. If you can't get online in the course of a day, do it first thing in the morning, do it first thing in the night. That's better than doing it one after another in the space of 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes.
Thanks for answering that question. We have another question from the chat from Alok. He asks, some content may need multiple external links. Do you guys have any thoughts or issues? Maybe just a quick answer, and then we'll wrap up the panel.
What was the question again?
Oh, are there any issues that might come up from sharing multiple links in a post?
I believe, but you know, as I said, I'm hopeless at SEO and marketing stuff, so perhaps Nina might be better at this, but I was always told that a link to a post is another juice up in Google searches when somebody searches for that particular subject matter or something. So really one relevant link per post is the best practice. Nina?
I would suggest that you pin on your collection all the links you need and you make like an introduction. Like if you open a book, you have all the content and links there. So make it on a pinned post and put all the links, all action you want your followers to take. And also in every post you can have a link. Just don't post, like Azlin said, 10 posts at a time, because you will have, your audience will get like a lot of posts and cannot follow them. I get from Harvard Business Review, I want to read the article, but they post every half an hour. So I just ended up deleting the articles because I cannot manage to read them all. So have the links in every post, but that just have a behavior. Look at the featured collections. Shane is a great example. If I was traveling 100 countries, I would have posted 1,000 pictures, but he's just having a big impact with one big impression. So it's a way of behavior that you can get. Have the links, of course. All of us want to have the audience come to our site, talk to us further, engage on our site, blogs. But the best practice would be to pin this blog on a pinned post.
Awesome. Thanks, Azlin and Nina, for sharing your answers to that question. So we've come to the end of our event, and we just want to thank you for joining us for our very first Collections 101 event. Big thank you to our panelists, Shane Dallas, Azlin Bloor, and Nina Trankova for sharing this wonderful tips and advice. Please do check out their profiles. They're tagged in many of our posts in the Collections community, and we'll be sending out more posts after the event. So keep a lookout in the Collections community for more information. Please do visit the community, and you can keep asking questions there, even though we've run out of time here. But I'll be around, and our panelists will certainly be by to answer your questions about collections. Thank you so much for joining us today. Have a wonderful day, everyone.
Thank you, Faith. Thank you,
Goodbye.
Azlin. Thank you, Shane. See you.